Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of my presentation today is Male and Female Indonesian EFL Undergraduate Student Metacognitive Strategies in Academic Reading, Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation Strategies by Erina Andriani, Consilianus Laos Mbato, from Master Program in English Education, Universitas Sanata Dharma, Yogyakarta, Indonesia. The purpose of this presentation is to compare and to know about similarities from male and female Indonesian EFL undergraduate student metacognitive strategy in academic writing. The main points I'll be taking about are firstly, the introduction about this article, secondly, the method, thirdly, the findings, then the discussion. Finally, we are going to look at the conclusion. Okay, let's start with the first point is the introduction. First, EFL students often face challenges in their academic reading. Students read academic literature to enrich themselves about the topic. For example, before conducting a study, students often face difficulties in their academic reading as it requires a complex process to decode and infer the meaning of the passage. And secondly, implementing metacognition in student learning process involve metacognitive strategy. Their strategy are deliberately selected action to help facilitate the learning process. Metacognitive strategy are the strategy to monitor and regulate the student learning process. In academic reading, students encounter a more complex text type, journal, books, or other academic references are a more formal and complex type students' knowledge on a topic in their learning or research process. Nonetheless, the ultimate goal of this academic reading is comprehension. This goal is achieved if the student can master their background knowledge to interpret the passage with proper context. In the complex comprehension process, metacognitive strategies are effective in assisting the student to be engaged in the process, monitor their understanding, and solve challenges in understanding the passage. Student metacognitive strategies help them to control or regulate the reading process and to address comprehension issues during reading. Student can integrate metacognitive strategies in the reading. And in Indonesia, some studies show a significant difference in metacognitive reading strategy used by male and female students, and some show an insignificant differences. Though the gender aspect is essential in language learning, a gap remains as the base of researcher knowledge. Only a view highlighted the influence of gender in metacognitive reading strategy used by Indonesian students. Therefore, researchers aim to fill in the gap regarding the metacognitive strategy used in gender perspective by conducting student thesis completion by male and female undergraduate students at the private university in Jogja, Indonesia. This study can help teachers to promote metacognitive reading strategy in their teaching while minding the gender differences to tailor to students' needs. Okay, now let's move on the methods. First, research design. For the study, both quantitative and qualitative data provide triangulation of the result and a deeper understanding of student metacognitive reading strategy use. The qualitative research was used to find out to what degree male and female students use the metacognitive reading strategies, and the qualitative data was used to explore the individual use of their metacognitive reading strategy and in what condition that use the strategy. Then the participants. The participants were the EL-ESP students who had already graduated by November 2020 and made an undergraduate thesis as the final report. Their age was between 21 to 24 years old. 10 males and 14 females expressed their willingness and were able to participate in the study, and 2 male and 3 female students agreed to be interviewed. Next, the data collection. This research used closed-ended and open-ended questionnaire for the survey and a semi-structured interview guidelines to gather the data. The questionnaire had 15 closed-ended questions with a Likert scale from 1 or rarely used to 5 almost always used, and 3 open-ended questions, while the semi-structured interview guidelines had 3 main questions. Closed-ended question consisted of 3 phases of metacognitive reading strategies, including 4 items for planning, 6 items for monitoring, and 6 items for evaluation strategies. The open-ended question for the questionnaire and the semi-structured interview had 3 main questions about the additional strategy used in planning, monitoring, evaluation phase. For the data analysis, in analysis the quantitative data, the researcher used regression analysis with SPSS to compare the mean score of both variables using an independent sample t-test. The qualitative data from the interview and the open-ended questionnaire was tabulated based on the planning, monitoring, evaluating strategy themes for the additional strategy types and support, problem solving, and global categories to identify the reason. Then we're presented descriptively to compare the male and female student strategy used in metacognitive strategies to academic reading. Okay, let's move on the findings. You can see the table. I'd like to illustrate by showing you the table about the mean score and standard deviation on metacognition reading strategies. From the planning strategies, the research set reading outcomes before he starts reading, and the mean score from male is 2.60 and female 3.43. And this all from the mean score and standard deviation on metacognitive reading strategies. And you can see the summaries or paraphrase. The research make the participant to summarize or phrase, and they know this table show that there are some differences in how male and female students use metacognitive reading strategies. The research did an independent test to figure it. Those differences are significant. And that's show the t-test result with gender as grouping variable. And the table for metacognitive reading strategies. The first one is planning strategies, male and female. And the additional planning strategies shared by male and female students were reviewing titles, brainstorming, and sorting literature by finding the best sources. The additional planning strategies shared by male students were predicting topic range, predicting information location, sorting, and latest literature. And the additional planning strategies shared by female students were finding, note-taking media, reading abstract, reading conclusions, scanning, and gathering reading willingness. The participant also specified the reason that use their strategy, mentioned the use of planning strategy for selection to journal read. There are the monitoring strategy from highlighting, skimming, translating, reading aloud, adjusting reading speed. For the female, there are make dipping reading, and the male is making questions. And when the skimming, the female making a main map and the male using prior knowledge. And about the evaluation strategy, making conclusion, the female are using visualizing information, then the male making a mind map and reviewing information for the discussion. Okay, from the finding, the use of monitoring strategies. Female students use monitoring strategies to a high degree, while male students use visualizing strategy on moderate use and other strategy to a high degree. Male students use metacognitive strategy by guessing meaning more often compared to the other strategies. In contrast, female use the quizzing meaning less often compared to pausing regularly. And using references material, though they use the guessing strategy, typographical aids. Some strategy we share only the male students is deep reading and making mind map by female students. Use questioning themselves and using prior knowledge. And the use of evaluation strategies. Male and female students use metacognitive strategies by employing most evaluation strategies to moderate use and other evaluation strategies to high use. In particular, male students use more evaluation strategies on high degree compared to female students. Male students use rereading, checking prediction, and summarizing in high intensity. Female students only use rereading and summarizing to a high degree. However, it is worth noting that both male and female students use the reading strategy the most. And this evaluation strategy shared by both male and female students. We're making conclusion discussing the literature and using the references. The strategy shared only by male students first visualizing the information. Strategy shared by female students were making mind maps and reviewing the information. And other students share the condition to use evaluation strategy. Male and female students use evaluation strategy to recapitulate the information they got and recheck things they did not understand. Male and female students also show similarities in metacognitive strategies used mainly in the evaluation phase. They use then rereading strategy the most and use evaluation strategy for the same purpose. Okay, I would like to digress here for a moment and just mention about the discussion for this article. This study explored the undergraduate student metacognitive reading strategies in their academic reading using a mixed method design. Results show the metacognitive reading strategy used by male and female students had a significant differences in guessing meaning strategy, while there was not any significant difference in the rest of the strategy used. The researchers highlighted that during the planning stage, male students use metacognitive reading strategy by employing guessing the text context the most, while female students use metacognitive strategy by activating the prior knowledge the most. And male and female students also share similarities, especially in evaluation strategy used ultimately. EVL teachers need to promote metacognitive strategies that tailor student need and individual differences. Okay, I would like to sum up the main points which were, first, we know the introduction is the background from this article. Second, we know the method from the research design, participant data collection and analysis. Third, we finding male and female students also share similarities when using metacognitive strategy in academic reading. I'm going to conclude. The students use metacognitive reading strategy by employing planning, monitoring, and evaluation metacognitive reading strategy in their academic reading for the completion of their thesis to a high degree, with exception of some strategies on moderate uses. And then the male and female student had awareness and preference in their strategy. The secondly is students also share similarities in evaluation strategy used particularly in their high use of rereading strategy. Similarly, students also share similarities in evaluation strategy used particularly in their high use of rereading strategy. Similarly, the students share similarities and differences in their reasoning in using metacognitive reading strategy. The implication of the study, lecture to promote and offer more instruction about various metacognitive reading strategy that tailor to their learning nature. Despite the encouraging result, this research was still limited to a small number of participants involved only study program. Future research might use a large number of participants from different study programs to increase the external validity of the finding or investigate how metacognitive strategy use may impact the quality of students' research report. Okay, that's all for me. Do you have any question? You can text on chat box, and thank you guys.